What do you do to center yourself amidst all the chaos?
That's a great question. I'm still working on it.
I made her blush. That's the first time ever. Welcome back to the Bobcast. I'm your host, Bob Riney, President and CEO of Henry Ford Health, and I am thrilled to have you joining us today. The Bobcast is where Detroit's future comes into view. It is where you'll hear the big ideas, bold voices, and crucial conversations that are shaping our city, our region, and beyond. Real and unapologetically focused on creating a stronger, more vibrant future. With grit and grace, this podcast introduces you to the relentless visionaries who are driving change and tackling some of the biggest challenges we face today. I'm really excited to have a friend, a colleague, and someone that's just kicking it all over town, Rachel Stewart. She is the president and CEO of Gardner White, which I know is a household name for so many of us. Been in Michigan for decades, a family-owned business. Rachel, welcome to the Bobcast.
Thank you. Best named podcast ever.
You've made an exciting move with Gardner White in that you are opening up a store in downtown Detroit.
So it's a new retail concept that we're doing. We're calling it GW Home. It'll look and feel very different than Gardner White, 15,000 square feet versus our normal 90. What we're doing is really a focus on styles for urban living, but that doesn't just mean expensive. So a range of price points, on trend, and then we're really also having fun bringing Detroit into the store. So there's so many amazing creative talents in this city, and this, I think, will be the only place where you can buy a range of art, ceramics, you name it, all sourced by Detroit artists. It's going to be pretty modern, but I think it's really important to not be too snotty about it. So there's a lot going on, and I think it's a great moment for the city.
I bet you're already envisioning the different seasons and what those storefront windows will look like, because downtown was known for these just creative window displays.
Well, even better than me envisioning it, a team at CCS's. So that's one of the many local partnerships. We're working with another great startup at a New Lab art space. Among the things I love about them is they're sourcing all local art will be their gallery. They really understand that you shouldn't have to pay thousands for something beautiful. So they're really working with a range of artists at a range of price points so everyone can have something in their home. So that's been really fun. And then we're working with some great ceramicists. So Claire Thibodeau is making a custom line of dishes for us. She's the chair of ceramics at CCS. So there's just a lot of fun outside talent coming in.
Gardner White has been an incredible force in ensuring that a century-old tradition of America's Thanksgiving parade continues to go down Woodward Avenue every Thanksgiving morning.
It is a beautiful morning here in Detroit for the 98th Annual America's Thanksgiving Parade presented by Gardner White.
Our Gardner White family is so proud to again sponsor the parade, so this Detroit tradition can continue. So, from our family,
where did that personal passion come from about, of all the different events, that parade?
This is not just the best parade in the city. It's not the best parade in the state. It's not the best parade in the region. This is America's Thanksgiving Day parade, and it is consistently voted number one.
Live from Woodward Avenue on Thanksgiving morning in Detroit.
So I think this is one of those where if we have something that is undoubtedly and repeatedly the best in the country, Gardner White is in, and we want to tell that story about how we're leading the country in yet another thing.
You know, there are some parades that have some stars and celebrities, but there is something about America's Thanksgiving parade in Detroit that just brings everyone's hometown feelings to the surface.
Among the many things I like about it is when you go down Woodward, it is every single Detroiter. Kids from all over the city are just sitting there having a great time, and it is one of the most diverse and inclusive events there are.
So, Rachel, before you started leading Gardner White, something that I'm sure a lot of people don't know is that you didn't just grow up in a family that owned a furniture business and immediately went into that furniture business. In fact, you really sharpened your political chops in Washington, D.C. before you became CEO.
I worked in what I'll call clean energy and technology for about 12 years before moving back to Detroit. I worked at the U.S. Department of Energy. At the time, the secretary was Steve Chu. And it was great because he just brought some of the best technologists in certainly the country, arguably the world. We took over the solar program. We called it Sunshot after Kennedy's moonshot with the goal of getting solar to the same price as coal. by 2020, which at the time was revolutionary, but it actually happened.
What takeaway from your time in Washington, D.C. would you think would be important to share with listeners?
For what I do today, I'm really involved in economic development at the state level, and I think there's so many parallels that you see. For example, we were watching exactly what you see happening in Michigan, which was we were de-risking all this technology that was then being manufactured in China. So we worked with our attorneys to really think about provisions. How can you encourage manufacturing in the country if taxpayers were the first investors in this technology? And I think we came up with some pretty creative ways to do that. And now at the state level, we're sort of thinking about the same thing. If someone's going to our universities and we are investing taxpayer dollars into training them, how can we retain them here?
You've said that furniture is really about helping people design and lean into their life. How do you instill that sense of humanity into both the mindset of your consumer, but mostly your employees who may come in just thinking, I got to do a transaction, I got to buy X?
Years ago, we gave our customer satisfaction data to a University of Michigan team, and I was really interested in what drives the bus. When you're really happy, why? When you're not happy, why? And the answer is really simple. If you like the one-to-one interaction with the salesperson, with the delivery person, you're happy. If you don't, you don't. Some of the data was actually surprising in the sense, if you liked how a salesperson talked to you at the front door, suddenly they thought you were in our largest store with the greatest selection, even if it was the smallest and the oldest. It so drove perception. And I think that's what really differentiates us.
Gardner White Furniture, we're known by the money you keep.
Our real superpower is an incredibly skilled and informed sales team. We focus a ton on the product and product training and our salespeople. Even the ones that have been there for 20 years are coming back through for product training at least 15 times a year. So I think when you really focus on what it is and how you can share those benefits with the customer, it's really relying on those people on the front lines to make it work.
You are one of only a few female CEOs in that industry, and I'm sure you take some pride in that.
For what we do, it's baffling to me that there's not more women because we are the consumer.
Yeah, you're the purchaser.
There's no question. And I would say some of our secret superpower has been we have women buying. So our top upholstery buyer and top case goods buyer are both fashionable young women. So I think they're also rare in having the top job. So I think, yes, of course you want to kick it and prove a point, but I also think the best thing is to just lean into it.
Do you see online as a growing part of the furniture business, or do you see that it's just so unique that it's not likely to take hold the way it has in other retail areas?
My approach is it has to be integrated. The shopping experience has just changed. Even when I started, the narrative was still customers went to 3 places to cross-shop before making a selection. They're still doing something of the same. They're just doing it in different ways online. So to keep investing there and really make it a state-of-the-art web presentation is incredibly important. And I think to me, the trick is how to integrate the two to make it a better shopping experience.
One thing I always wonder about family businesses, dynasties from a business standpoint, is the tension that could happen from one generation to the next when you're trying to lead the company differently. And that's always a interesting dynamic. How's your family work through all that?
The line I always give, which is funny but true, is that I've worked for 2 U.S. presidents. Working with my parents is much harder.
Would they agree with that?
Oh, yeah. The other thing my dad likes to say is, she worked for a president, she worked for Steve Chu with a Nobel Prize, and her bosses just kept getting better. Thankfully, he laughs when he says it. Is there a secret? No. Is it communication? Yes, and always. Is it hard? Yeah. And I think you just have to have straightforward, sincere conversations because fundamentally you all want the same thing, but there's just a natural tension because your visions are going to be different. And I think the hard part for me, being in a family business, is, my instinct would always be to keep that private. Like, you never want to air what's going on. But at the same time, we've really developed a world-class leadership team, and I mean it sincerely. And they've moved to Detroit for this job, which is a great statement on where Detroit is, too.
You sit on an incredible number of very influential boards around the Detroit area. There's a common theme, I assume, to how you show up at these boards. Talk to us about that.
One thing I love about this city is you really can have an impact if you engage. I totally enjoy that. It keeps a little bit of my past in what I'm doing today. I think, to focus on how to advance manufacturing is something that we talked about a lot in technology.
Speaking of a great state and a great city, you're very politically involved, and I'm not going to ask you who you are endorsing or thinking about for the upcoming mayor's race and the upcoming governor's race, et cetera, but what are the key attributes you're looking for in the next leaders?
My two issues are pretty consistent: economic development and education. I think we really need to engage on that. And I think we need big, bold solutions. Where we are in education as a state is just not acceptable. These solutions exist and we should demand them. And I think pragmatism. There's just some pragmatic, data-based ways that you can improve the city and the state.
Are you a social media addict? Do you stay away from it?
It's not my thing. I spend a ton of mental energy thinking about how I cannot make it my kids' thing. I have 2 daughters, and I fail to see how it's going to help them in life. That's my personal view.
Aside from spending wonderful time with your great family, what do you do to center yourself amidst all the chaos?
I swim, I run. And it's funny, people always ask when you're swimming, like, don't you get bored? What do you think about? Nothing. I count strokes, I count breaths, I count laps. I do nothing, but it does just help me detox.
What is the advice that you'll give your children as they go into adulthood and start figuring out what they're going to be that you wish had been given to you?
I think probably don't be afraid to fail. Try anything that interests you and go nuts. The advice that was given to me that was incredibly helpful is when you're looking at your first and second job, think about the mentors. It's that person that's going to really teach you how to think and teach you how to work and be effective, and whose network will get you your next job and keep propelling you.
Thank you so much, Rachel. I admire everything that you represent, everything that you do, and especially the fact that you're leading an important retail establishment that is doing really great things, not just furnishing people's houses, but inspiring them to live their best lives. So thank you so much for being on the Bobcast.
Thank you, Bob.
I've had the privilege of seeing Rachel Stewart in a lot of different forums. We really sit on a lot of important boards in the region together. What really struck me about today's interview is how comfortable this leader is in her own skin. She's able to laugh, be self-deprecating, be courageous, take risks, be vulnerable, all the things that just make a great leader who is just determined every day to make a difference. And she applies that in her family, she applies that in Gardner White, and she applies that in the state of our city and the state of the region. She is a change agent and a real difference maker. If you enjoyed this episode, please click follow so you will never miss a future episode. Share us with your friends and leave us a 5-star rating and review, which will help others find us. If you have suggestions for a topic or a guest, email us at bobcast@hfhs.org. Remember, every action we take today is a step towards the future we're building together. Let's keep striving, keep believing, and keep moving forward. Let's use positive momentum to carry us through an era that's filled with troubling questions. Until next time, take care and keep making a difference.